Hey everyone, it's Amanda Radke from Mitchell, South Dakota, and I'm sitting here today with Jim Eschenbaum. He's a Han County Commissioner who is seeking the election of the Republican State Chair. Thought I'd sit down with Jim for just a few minutes to discuss, what he stands for and why he has decided to put his name in the ring for this position. So, Jim, I guess just to start things off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do there up there in Han County?
Yeah, Amanda, I'm a semi-retired farmer. Uh, when I say semi-retired, my wife and I have our land rented out to the neighbor and his son, and I'm mostly around the place. I'm just doing maintenance, spraying, mowing, put up a little hay, and odds and ends stuff. I do serve as one of the commissioners here in Han County. Ran unopposed for another 4-year term. This will be my second 4-year term. I finished 1 year of previous term for J.D. Wangsness when Governor Noam appointed him to fill a vacated seat in Pierre. So at the end of this 4-year term, that'll be 9 years of service as a county commissioner. I won't be running again. I believe in self-imposed term limits. I would never mandate term limits because we have good public servants that can literally spend decades in office and keep the mind and heart of a public servant,
Mhm.
but keep government, I guess, cleaned up and a service to the people. We need to be involved, and the voters should impose those term limits. They should not be mandated in law, is my belief. And I want to have a more involved South Dakota Republican Party and inform voters that get involved and pay attention to what's going on in their government. And I mean, there's so many people that don't participate in government any more than, I say, 15 to 20, maybe 30 minutes every 2 to 4 years when they go and vote, and they assume everything is going to be okay. And that's just not enough. You don't necessarily have to step up and run for office, but you still need to be aware of what your elected officials are doing.
So, Jim, I got to know you really well through this RL 21 fight to protect local control and private property rights in the state of South Dakota. You manned the ballot question committee. You kind of led that SD not for sale movement that resulted in a 59% vote in our favor. One of the things that really stuck out to me with the way you led was you had a way of being a strong servant leader that really uplifted everyone around you and empowered everyone around you to kind of step up to the plate and offer their time, talent, and treasures to get the job done. And so I've seen firsthand you are walking the walk, you are fighting the good fight, you are a servant leader. But I guess I wanted to ask you, what did you learn from that experience working with so many people across the state that you would apply then to the Republican state chair position?
As chairman, I've said many times, I think I had the easy job. I had to make a couple of calls once in a while that is the chairman's responsibility. But for the most part, when things are moving like they were, and that many people involved, and things are working fine, don't be messing with it. I did have a couple of people criticize me for not being involved enough and not being outspoken enough, and I'm like, this thing is just exploding, and people are so involved and so driven, and it was just such a incredible variety of people. Amazing, I've said so many times, amazing, hardworking, common sense people from across the state of South Dakota that could see how bad of an idea this Summit Carbon Solutions pipeline was. They could see how bad of a law that was passed by our legislators to try to benefit them. And they just stepped up, and we overwhelmingly voted that law down.
So, Jim, I have to smile as I listen to your response because here I am asking for, like, hey, tell me about your qualifications, and you brag about everybody else that's surrounding you. But I think that's a testament to how you approach a leadership role, and what I had said earlier about how you have an ability to bring the best out of a lot of people that surround you. And I know you had stated on your campaign page that you believe the role of a leader is to not to lead or not to dictate how a meeting or how a party would go, but to provide that platform, that guidance, and then let the people kind of decide the direction. Tell me a little bit about how you would approach this role. What is your view of the Republican Party, and how would you help, kind of bring back and revitalize the party platform that, quite frankly, has been disregarded by so many Republicans for so long?
So I believe I would approach it with some of the same strategies that were used in this RL21 campaign effort. And you find people that are good at something, and I've told people, I says, I will chair the party. And it's my understanding by reading the bylaws, the chairman is to facilitate the operations and decision-making of the State Central Committee. The State Central Committee, which is 4 members from each county across each organized county across the state, the chair, the vice chair, the state committeeman, and the state committee woman from each county are the 4 members of the State Central Committee. And it's clear to me that the chairman facilitates the operations and decision-making of the State Central Committee. I was asked in a interview about there's a divide in the Republican Party. How will I bring that divide together? I says, I can't. I says, nobody can. It's 2 different kinds of people. We've got people that want to be public servants, and we've got people that get into serving government for power and money, and they use government for doing business.
Mhm.
That was RL21. A bunch of legislators used government for doing business. That is not what government is for.
Mhm.
There's a saying that government is a necessary evil that must be restrained at every opportunity, and that was a place where we had to restrain the actions of government. And
Mhm.
we need to find people that are true public servants and want to work for the people, not for themselves or their friends or national corporations or whatever it might be.
That's right. So, Jim, final question. What does being a Republican mean to you?
Well, as far as being a Republican, I've only been a Republican for about 10 years. My wife and I were both raised in Democratic Catholic families. When we got old enough to register to vote, we registered as Democrats, obviously, because our parents were, and they said that basically both of our parents told us the same thing, that the Democrat Party is the party of the working man.
Mhm.
I don't see that anymore. I've said the Democrat Party that I understood when I grew up was, I would say, JFK Democrats, that literally had a concern for people. The Democrat Party has gotten so far away from that, and the party finally did something in 2015 that my wife and I couldn't be on board with. They ran Hillary Clinton for president, and that's when we finally decided to change. We were already voting across the aisle anyway. Neither one of us would support anybody that supported abortion, unlimited abortion especially. They got to where they wanted to take away our gun rights, or at least some of our gun rights. And you know how that is going to work. It's just going to be a little cut here and there, death by 1,000 cuts, and
That's right.
so there's some things you just stand firm on. And anyway, like I said, after joining the Republican Party and getting involved in this deal with RL21 and learning more about what goes on in Pierre and how some people forget their role as public servant and become self-serving, I think it's time that the good, common sense, hardworking citizens of South Dakota are running this party instead of politicians. I mean, they just, I would say 90% of the registered Republican voters across the state don't have an elitist attitude in any way, shape, or form. They want their rights uninfringed. Like I've said about this pipeline, all these people that are fighting this thing are just people that wanted to be left alone. They wanted to make a living and raise a family and recreate on weekends or whatever it is they chose to do. All of a sudden, they're involved in fighting a intrusive, dangerous pipeline.
Mhm.
We got work to do, but I want to have a more involved Republican Party. And when you talked about the platform earlier, we have a clear platform. And if people aren't going to follow that once they're elected to office, it shouldn't be easy for them to get elected again just because of name recognition or whatever else. I would like to have a South Dakota GOP scorecard. I mean, a few people have thrown that out the window, but I said we have a platform that our elected are supposed to follow. How hard would it be to have a scorecard? You know?
Right. Well,
any other job that you take, if you don't perform, you're going to get docked in pay or you'll probably get fired. Why can't our elected be the same way?
Yeah, I think you sum it up well that, I hear constant rumblings from the Republican Party, oh, we can't fundraise and people aren't donating anymore. And that's because I truly believe it's because a lot of these elected officials have abandoned the true roots and principles that make the Republican Party great. And your past experience, both as a county commissioner and then working so hard on RL 21, is a really strong indicator to me that you are not only boots on the ground, willing to work hard for the people, but you have the ear of the people. And we have a strong mandate of the things that we stand for and that we want. And that's why I was so proud to endorse you, Jim, for this position, because I believe you're going to carry that same work ethic, that same grounded conservative principles that the party really stands for. And you're going to make the Republican Party reflect the will of the people once again. And so, Jim, thank you so much for this interview today. I'm proud to endorse you for the Republican State Chair position. I encourage everyone to vote for Jim Eschenbaum when the time comes. I'm Amanda Radke. Until next time.
Thank you, Amanda.